pleasure, but we feel it's necessary. What I've personally witnessed in the past 4 years, culminating with the firing of our dear superintendent, shows an unfortunate pattern of behavior which erodes the public's trust. And in order for this board to move forward with integrity, I believe this is necessary. And I'm kind of heartbroken that I even have to do it, but here we go. The Board of Trustees of the Pajaro Valley Unified School District hereby issues this public censure expressing disapproval of Trustee Georgia Acosta's violation of board policies, regulations, and bylaws as follows. Whereas Board Bylaw 9005A states that the Board of Education believes that its primary responsibility is to act in the best interest of every student in the district. And whereas Board Bylaw 9005A also provides the board also has major commitments to parents and guardians, all members of the community, employees, the state of California, and laws pertaining to public education and established policies of the district. And whereas Board Bylaw 9005 further provides to maximize board effectiveness and public confidence in district governance, board members are expected to govern responsibly and to hold themselves to the highest standards of ethical conduct. And whereas Board Bylaw 9005A lists as among the duties of the board in order to implement its responsibilities to, number 4, act with dignity and understand the implications of demeanor and behavior. 6, participate in professional development and commit the time and energy necessary to be an informed and effective leader. And 8, understand that authority rests with the board as a whole and not with individual board members. Also shall assume collective responsibility for building unity and creating a positive organizational culture. To operate effectively, the board shall have the unity of purpose by, number 1, keep the district focused on learning and achievement for all students. Number 2, communicate a common vision. Number 3, operate openly with trust and integrity. Number 4, govern in a dignified and professional manner, treating everyone with civility and respect. Number 5, govern with board adopted policies and procedures. And 8, ensure opportunities for the diverse range of views in the community to inform board deliberations. And whereas Board Bylaw 9130 provides with the authority to establish committees, and whereas Board Bylaw 9140 provides the governing board recognizes that effective performance of its community leadership responsibilities may require its participation in district or community committees on matters of concern to the district and its students. As needed, the board may appoint any of its members to serve as its representative on the district committee or committee of another public agency or organization of which the board or district is a member, or to which the board is invited to participate. And whereas Board Bylaw 9200A provides the Board of Education recognizes that the board is the unit of authority over the district and that a board member has no individual authority. Board members shall hold the education of students above any partisan principle, group interest, or personal interest, unless agreed to by the board as a whole. Individual members of the board shall not exercise any administrative responsibility with respect to the schools or command the services of any school employee. And whereas Board Bylaw 9310C provides the board shall prescribe and enforce rules for its own government. Sorry. I can't see that word. Consistent with state law and regulations. And whereas the board has openly and properly committed itself to upholding board policies, administrative regulations, and bylaws providing for open, honest, respectful communications, and adhering to state laws and policies governing the board's actions and behaviors. Whereas on December 7th, 2016, and again on December 16th, 2020, Trustee Acosta took an oath to faithfully discharge the duties of a board member consistent with the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution and the laws of the state of California, and the policies and regulations and bylaws of this district. And whereas the board has, at the district's expense, participated in trainings regarding effective and responsible governance and received advice from legal counsel regarding the same. And whereas Trustee Acosta has missed 26 board meetings and has left 6 board meetings before the completion of the business of the board's agenda. And I will say that she continues to receive a stipend and full benefits for her family, despite missing more than 1 year of board meetings. I'd also like to point out that in my 11 years, I have missed 2 board meetings. I would like to point out that in 8 years, Trustee Orozco has missed 3 board meetings due to the births of the 3 children that she had while she was a sitting board member. I want everybody to think about that for a minute. I had a root canal and showed up for a board meeting. Trustee Acosta's missed 26 board meetings. Whereas Trustee Acosta has participated on no board committees since her tenure on the board. There are multiple committees that are of interest to all board members that we all should be participating on regularly if we can. She has participated on no board committees, no interest in doing so. Whereas Trustee Acosta was accused of violating the Brown Act after an election to the board in 2018, and whereas the complaint of the Brown Act violation was resolved by the board member's commitment to participate in the Brown Act training. There was an investigation, and the remedy to the Brown Act violation was that all of us were supposed to participate in a board governance training. Whereas Trustee Acosta has failed to participate in any training for board members that was provided by the district regarding the Brown Act, which resolved and remedied the Brown Act violation complaint. So there, I sat in all of the board meetings related to this Brown Act complaint, and I was not one of the participants in the alleged violation. Neither was Trustee Acosta. Trustee Orozco. Yet we showed up and participated. Where was Trustee Acosta? She was thumbing her nose at all of us, didn't ever show up and participate in the remedy. Whereas Trustee Acosta provided no notice to fellow board members or to the superintendent that she was going to attempt to terminate the superintendent. And whereas Trustee Acosta has failed to participate in any closed session special board meetings to evaluate the superintendent and has only completed 1 of 4 of the evaluations. Again, these are special board meetings, multiple days, presentations. The rest of us show up and sit there and are frankly grateful to be there to give our feedback and to hear the good news of the district, the opportunities and the challenges. Trustee Acosta does not participate in these. Whereas Trustee Acosta divulged confidential information to a former employee and community member regarding her efforts to terminate the superintendent and sought their advice on the procedure to follow before any information was conveyed to other board members. And at this point, I do have a slide I'd like to put up. So I don't know who's putting it up, Alicia or Eva. I'd like everybody to take a look at this email sent from Trustee Acosta on her CSUMB email, not on her sanctioned email from our district, but from her CSUMB email to an ex-employee who may or may not have an axe to grind. I don't know, but he's an ex-employee she sends to Joe Dominguez, making a fatal error of sending it to his PVUSD email, which he no longer worked at, and to Victor Marani. These are two members of the public that really have no business meddling around in our district affairs. So let's just read it. Hello, Joe and Vic. Attached is the revised agenda just sent to us. This needs our immediate approval for her. Best regards, Georgia. Why would Joe Dominguez and Vic Marani be giving any direction, counsel, or approval of an agenda that is confidential, that the agenda setting committee is supposed to be setting along with district administration, and it's supposed to be sent to board members and then to the public? I don't understand why these two men are being asked by Georgia for counsel. I don't understand this. Can you please put up the next slide? There is an attachment to this. This is the agenda that was sent as an attachment with that email. And at first glance, it seems fairly benign. But what is notable about this agenda is what's not on the agenda. On this agenda was supposed to be an item about the budget, and actually when this went out of agenda setting committee, this agenda did have an item on the budget, and Trustee Acosta removed it. Can you go back to the email for a second? The date of this email is Saturday, January 23rd. Had our board been able to receive the presentation on the budget, we would have been given information that our budget was likely going to be positive. The budget presentation was withheld from the board members. For what reason? I'm not sure. Whereas in the month of January 2021, Trustee Acosta, as president of the board, without the knowledge, consent, or authority of the board, contacted legal counsel for the purpose of terminating the superintendent's contract. And whereas on January 27th, 2021, Trustee Acosta arranged on her own for a virtual board meeting on an unauthorized and unsecured platform and prevented the superintendent from attending and participating in that board meeting. And whereas Trustee Acosta incurred expenses for legal counsel in excess of $16,000 for her unauthorized actions to terminate the superintendent. And whereas the divided board action to terminate the superintendent on January 27th, 2021, Trustee Acosta went to the district office and proceeded to direct staff, which is not allowed by a board member. Whereas at the board meeting on January 29th, 2021, Trustee Acosta attempted to stop public comment on the issue of the termination of the superintendent. And whereas the board on January 31st, 2021, unanimously reinstated the superintendent and removed Trustee Acosta from her position as board president for her unauthorized actions. And whereas Trustee Acosta's behavior, language, and conduct toward district employees, and I would also add here, board colleagues and the public, failed to meet the professional standards for an elected representative or the minimum standards expected of any district employee or trustee, and violated district policies and board bylaws, including board bylaws 9005A, 9140, And 9200. And whereas censure by a public body is a collective judgment of stern condemnation of one of its members for behaviors or actions that violate laws or policies. It is also a formal public act of disapproval of a member's unacceptable conduct. And now, therefore, be it resolved that this board does hereby censure, disavow, and formally express its disapproval of Trustee Acosta's conduct described above. Be it further resolved that this board does hereby direct Trustee Acosta to properly perform her duties as a board member by attending meetings unless properly excused, participating on board committees, and participating in district training for board members, understand her role as a member of the board of this board, not engage in it should say unauthorized conduct as a board member, and comply with all its applicable law, board policy, regulations, and bylaws, and cease and desist from engaging in disrespectful treatment of district employees and members of the public and fellow board members.
All right.
I do
Lisa,
I'm sorry. I have one more thing to point out. We've had multiple public inquiries, information inquiries from media, from members of the public around emails, etc. This email that I put up earlier was not publicly disclosed and not turned over. That's the only email we know between she and Joe Dominguez and Victor Marani. I'm guessing there are others. Those have not been turned over, and those have not been disclosed per Public Information Request Act. And I'll open it now for maybe public comment.
Alicia, are there any public speakers